Hi, I'm Jack. I'm an advanced dietitian in Australia and a professor of nutrition at the University of Iceland. So, what can be done to improve the number of people who receive simpler actions? Changes can target increasing the capability of health workers, patients, and carers through better knowledge, skills, and understanding. But it's also really important to create opportunities to make the right thing easier to do. Finally, it is important to consider improvements that motivate people to do the right thing. Over the next few slides, we will share lots of different ideas for improvement. Some of these ideas might be very useful in your setting, but others might not be relevant, and that's totally okay. You need to do what works in your setting. You might already be doing some of these things, and we definitely know for sure that around the world, people are doing many other great things that aren't listed here as well. These are just examples to help individuals and teams to start thinking. But please, don't try and do everything at once. Instead, we suggest just doing one thing at a time. Keep it simpler. Try it out with a few of your local team members or patients, and if it helps improve things, great. Just keep doing it. And if it doesn't work, make a change or try something different. This approach is supported by models like the Model for Improvement and also the COM-B. If you want to know more about these, links are available in the references in this unit, or come and chat to one of your simplest supported champions, other people, and we can give you some other references as well. So to improve fasting practices, we can start by building capability. This means improving people's knowledge, skills, and understanding. To start with, let's go through a few ideas that focus on staff, healthcare workers. First, make it clear to staff what counts as prolonged or repeat fasting. Use very simple examples so that everybody understands what we mean. Help staff understand the risks of keeping patients fasting for too long or fasting again and again and again. Support staff to feel confident asking, why is this patient fasting? This can definitely stop unnecessary fasting. Put up posters that explain why fasting from midnight or just in case fasting isn't a good practice. And finally, include this topic in training or short simulation activities so staff can learn and practice safer fasting care. Although these steps might seem quite small, they can definitely help reduce unnecessary fasting and support better care. Just improving knowledge, understanding, and skills is usually not enough, though, to create long-lasting changes in busy hospitals and other healthcare settings. To make it easier for staff to do the right thing, we also need to create opportunities, for example, by changing the physical or social environment. One way to do this is to make sure it's clear who is responsible for writing and reviewing fasting orders. We can also use signs at the bedside to show when fasting starts and ends. If you're lucky enough to have electronic systems, we can add alerts, reminders, or checklists to help prompt action and prevent unnecessary fasting. Another helpful idea is to include fasting checks in daily huddles, handovers, or team meetings. That can be in the same profession or that can be across different professions. Making sure team meals are available in emergency departments can also help stop people from going hungry while waiting for a bed or surgery. If delays to surgery are common, working with hospital leaders to improve access to theatres can definitely reduce unnecessary fasting. Creating check and challenge fasting champions gives teams a person who can help spot and suggest solutions. And finally, auditing and reporting fasting practices is a great way to keep the topic visible and to identify areas for improvement. Improvement is also more likely when people see that their actions matter. So it's really important to boost intention, confidence, and provide feedback to reinforce positive behaviour. Setting goals, using rewards or incentives, and celebrating success are very powerful ways to build motivation and create momentum for change. Sharing stories also helps connect practice to real human impact. At the start of this unit, you heard from an anaesthetist, geriatrician, and a nurse. However, there are so many people who can take action to avoid prolonged or repeat fasting. Let's start with the core clinical team. This includes everyone involved in direct patient care, from the emergency department to the ward, to the theatre, and then back to the ward again. Who these people are will be different depending on where you work, but here's a few examples. Nurses play a key role from stopping or modifying fasting orders right through to practice reform and research. Training doctors, geriatricians, surgeons, and anaesthetists, for example, write and cancel fasting orders. But they can also do many other things like reducing delays to surgery, reviewing policies, processes, and guidance documents, and making cases, for example, for dedicated orthogeriatric theatre bookings. Dietitians and many other allied health professionals are critical in advocating for early nutrition to prevent decline. But fasting isn't just a clinical issue, it's a systems issue. Ward clerks, food service staff, and information teams are just some examples of people who can improve visibility and action through better communication and tools. Hospital executives and funders can set the tone by making fasting a priority. Well, avoiding fasting anyway. Finally, patients, advocacy groups, professional organisations, and researchers bring essential voices and evidence to support change. But when and where can fasting improvements actually happen? They can and should happen at multiple points in the patient journey, not just a one-time thing. For example, in the emergency department, we can act early to identify high-risk patients, flag missed meals, and start nutrition when safe. On the wards, when patients are waiting for theatre, we can make fasting visible, review orders regularly, and support safe intake up until the final call, depending on what your local practices are. This can include offering drinks and oral nutrition supplements if appropriate, until the right time to stop, and what that looks like will depend on your setting. In theatre and perioperative areas, communication is key. Letting wards know of delays, cancelling fasting orders when surgery is postponed, and prioritising patients with long fasts can prevent unnecessary harm. After surgery, when people are back on the wards, we need to make sure that nutrition is restarted promptly and that fasting doesn't continue longer than needed. Post-operative fasting practices should support early recovery. Finally, lasting change comes when fasting practices are considered during planning and reviewing of policies, systems, and services. All the processes that are involved with fasting. This includes aligning with professional guidelines, updating protocols, and integrating measures, red flags, and care prompts into electronic systems, for example. We invite you to watch this short 3-minute animation. It shows the difference that simpler improvements can make. In this story, you'll meet Mr. E and see how reducing unnecessary fasting after a hip fracture can support a better recovery. His journey shows how early nutrition care can really help. After you have watched the video, we will then invite you to take some time to reflect on what you might be able to do to improve things in your setting. Now, it's time to reflect again. So what are the 2 or 3 changes that you think could improve fasting practices in your setting? Think about things that matter to patients, communities, or populations, healthcare workers or funders, and policymakers. Just put in a few of your thoughts. This is not assessed, it's just to get you thinking.